You're listening to Permission To, the podcast where we dive into the science and soul of owning your worthiness as a perfectly imperfect human being. I'm your host, Sam Dew, psychotherapist, positive psychology coach, mama to a beautiful 5-year-old Amelie, and passionate advocate for living an inspired life. My aim is to show you that you have full permission to own your worthiness so that you can embrace your true nature and begin walking boldly toward your dreams. Let's dive in. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Permission To. Sitting here recording this episode with the air conditioning cranked because summer's here and it's really beautiful sunny day outside. So feeling so excited for all the beach swims and getting ready for the festive season. And that is what this episode is about. I recently released a mini guide to boundary setting and saying no for the festive season. So if you haven't already received that, there's a link in the notes where you can download it. And I wanted to record a podcast episode because I know that this is something that so many of the women that I support struggle with. The whole being a good girl, following the good girl rules, being a people pleaser, finding it really hard to say no. And I don't know if anyone else can relate to this, but it seems to become so much harder for women in particular to say no in the festive season, November, December, the lead up to Christmas and Christmas Day. I love Christmas. I would put the Christmas tree up now if Nick let me, but, got to wait till the 1st of December because he's like a traditionalist. I think Christmas can be such a beautiful and joyful time, but it's also a time where we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. Anyone who's a perfectionist, we tend to have these visions of what Christmas is going to look like and what, December is going to look like. And sometimes that, idea of perfect can put pressure on us and actually, cost us our joy and our pleasure. And whether you're a mama or just a beautiful human who, is trying to prioritize her own needs more, just a reminder that, it is okay to look after yourself at Christmas time. It's still okay to say no. It's still okay to set boundaries. Just because it's Christmas doesn't mean that you have to turn into this perfect angel of a human who never says no and never sets boundaries. But it's definitely a harder time to do those. And it's a bit sad, but I know so many women who have just gone, Christmas is just horrible for me. No time for me. I don't get anything out of it. I don't enjoy it. And they've just kind of come to accept that Christmas is about everyone else. It's about the kids or what everyone else wants them to do. That's, such a sad way to kind of look at Christmas. Whether you celebrate Christmas or whether it's just a break for you, it's still important to be able to set boundaries and say no. So what I want to talk about today is the stories that we tell ourselves around Christmas and also then the rules that we have around Christmas. So if you're a people pleaser, if you're someone who has trouble saying no, then you might have some unhelpful thoughts, some unhelpful thinking patterns around Christmas, around summer or winter, whatever time of the year it is for you, the festive season, the holidays, whatever you want to call it. But often we have these unhelpful rules and we need to kind of unpack them before we can learn to say no and set boundaries. So an example of an unhelpful rule that I've had for many years is my husband should know what to get me for Christmas. And this is based on the story that I used to have. If he really knew me, he would know what gift to buy me without me having to tell him. It's kind of like, my husband should get me flowers without me asking. Or another rule, that you might have. My needs are not important at Christmas time. Especially the mamas out there, I feel like there's a lot of, Christmas is all about the children. Yeah, and of course, kids really matter at Christmas time, but it doesn't mean that we need to sacrifice our needs as well. Like, it's possible for our children to have a great Christmas without their mothers feeling like, stressed out, frazzled humans by the end of the day. And your children, not getting to enjoy you because you're just doing everything and you've said yes to everything isn't helpful either. So a way for you to notice when you might be applying a rule to Christmas or to the festive season is when you say the word should. So like, my husband should know what to get me for Christmas, or I should be able to organize everything on my own for Christmas. I should be able to, host and have the whole day at my house without needing any help, whatever the rule is. So keep an eye out for those rules. And these are the ways that you live your life, the ways that you have possibly been taught to live your life and socialize from a young age. Because often, if you think about it, as women, we are socialized to see the mum as the all-sacrificing being who, does everything for Christmas. Like, when I think about my childhood, we would go to my grandma's house, and even though it would sometimes be like 30, 40 degree day in Australia, she loved doing a roast, but could also see that it was a lot of work for her to do that. And she would do it all on her own. There was no help from the men in the family. And so that's what I grew up in. And I grew up seeing, her being very tired and, probably a bit overwhelmed sometimes, and not really asking for help. And so if you think about it, then it would make sense that I would develop a rule. Well, the women must do all the work for the festive season, or I should be able to do it all because my grandma did it all, or, so we develop these rules about how we live our life. And whilst my grandma never said to me explicitly, like, you need to do all the cooking on Christmas, I would have learnt that through observing her. And we can often feel guilty if we break our own rules, and that can keep us trapped. So consider the rules and the shoulds that you are living your life by and where they came from. Just going to give you some more should statements and some more examples of rules that might be impacting on Christmas for you. So, I should be more organized for Christmas. I should have a perfectly tidy and presented house for Christmas. I should have presents for everyone. I should spend a lot of money on presents. I should attend every event I'm invited to. I need to see everyone before the end of the year. Christmas should be perfect, or it's my job to make Christmas perfect. Everyone in the family should get along. I need to keep everyone else happy. Can you think about any other shoulds that spring to your mind when you think about Christmas, holidays, festive season? This could be applied to so many different holidays. And what are the costs of those rules? If you do a big brain dump of all the rules, all the shoulds that you have about Christmas, about festive season, about holidays, and then think about, well, what does this cost me? When I tell myself that it's my job to keep everyone happy, or, it's my job to make Christmas perfect, does that bring you joy? Because I know there are women out there who are Christmas obsessed. I enjoy Christmas, but I'm probably not as obsessed about it and as passionate about it as some women are. But if that genuinely is a passion of yours and it brings you so much joy and you actually, get a lot of pleasure and joy out of it, then, that it's not a problem. But if it's actually, the standards that I have are too high, or the pressure that I put on myself is too much, or these rules, these shoulds are actually making me feel so unhappy because, let's say you're quite an introverted person, and for most of the year you maybe, try to have one social outing a weekend. And then let's say during the festive season, you're oh, maybe you've got a rule, I should see everyone before Christmas, or I can't say no. Then imagine you say yes to like, I don't know, 5 events per weekend leading up to the festive season. How are you going to feel? What's the cost of that for you? So pay attention to, all these rules and assumptions and shoulds that you have and how they make you feel and the costs that they have to you, to your well-being, because your well-being still matters at all times of the year. And I've given some journal questions in the download, which I'll go through. But yeah, I do encourage you to download it as well, so you've got them written down. Ask yourself, what do I expect of myself when it comes to Christmas? This is going to help you unpack some of those rules and those shoulds. What standards do I expect of myself? What do I expect of myself when I'm socializing? What does my family expect of me? And this is a really interesting one. What might happen if I relax my standards for Christmas? Is there anything that I really want to do for Christmas that I don't allow myself to do? I have this memory in my 20s. I've gone through a really rough breakup, and I think it was the first year in 4 years that I wasn't having Christmas between my partners and my parents. And so I think I had like the morning free to myself, which was so nice. And I've got this memory of sitting on my little balcony. I was in like a share house back then with some girlfriends, and I'm drinking champagne and eating oysters in the morning, just leisurely, like a lady of leisure. And it's such a joyful Christmas memory. And it's such an unusual one, right? Because I was spending some time on my own. But it is okay if you need like a little bit of time to yourself, on Christmas Day or the day after or the day before, like that is okay. So yeah, what don't you allow yourself to do that maybe you actually really need in December? This is an interesting one. What do I criticize in other people? Sometimes what we criticize in other people can actually be a mirror revealing parts of ourselves that we find really, really hard to accept, or perhaps things in them that we actually, really, really want for ourselves. Like maybe they do say no, and then you criticize them for that and you wish that you could say no. So yeah, pay attention to what you criticize in other people. What standards do I expect them to live up to? And what does my ideal Christmas look like? And when I let go of all the rules and the shoulds, what do I want in December? What do I need to take care of myself in December? So there's some questions that I really, really encourage you to ask yourself in the lead up to December. And also, don't forget to schedule in some time for you in December and set boundaries around this. Because, again, just because it's December doesn't mean that your needs for quiet time, for peace, for alone time are any different to any other time of the year. So, again, it's going to be different for different humans. But, yeah, some of us need more alone time than others. And I want to talk to you a little bit about how you say no. So once you've actually, started to release these rules and these shoulds, become aware of them, maybe create some new ways of being in the world. Like, actually, I just want to, let Christmas be fun and easy, or I allow Christmas to be simple. Once you start to look at new rules and new ways of being over the festive season, you might come across your expectations and someone else's expectations being quite different. And then this is where, saying no and setting boundaries is really, really key. And so I just want to remind you that saying no can be really simple. And actually, in terms of how you say no, the simpler, the better. Okay. So I find a lot of women, if they are normally people pleasers, they've got all those good girl rules going on, they tend to over explain their no, and launch into these like lengthy paragraphs of why they can't do something. You don't need to do that. In fact, when you do that, you're almost giving like a bit of an unclear message to the other person that you're not like very comfortable with the no. And you can say no in such a loving way. Like, I'll give you an example. Let's say that I've already, said yes to like 2 things on a weekend and someone invites me to something else, and I just, I pay attention to what I need and I think that's going to be too much, it's possible to say, oh, I can't go, without necessarily hurting your friend, or whoever's invited you, the family member. So you could say something like, oh, I can't make it, but I'd love to catch up in January, or I'd love to catch up in February, or yeah, that doesn't work for me at the moment, but I'll be much more free in January. So you can say no and also still let the person know that you really value them and their time and you want to see them in the future. Or you could even, like, one of my clients kind of made a joke about November, like, that she says she has a bit of a policy in November that she says no to everything, which I think is like a really powerful, loving way to look after yourself before the festive season, So yeah, remember, saying no can be simple. I would love to catch up another time. On that freebie, I've got like a list of ways that you can say no, but try to resist the urge to over-explain. And also, okay, if you think about it, if saying no is a new behavior, then the pathways in your brain are so much more confident at saying yes. Your neural pathways are just going to be on autopilot, and a lot of the times you're just going to be saying yes. So a little tool that I find really, really supports me and really has supported some of my clients is to actually visualize yourself saying no. So like almost imagine saying no, before you go to bed. Maybe there's someone in your life who you find really, really hard to say no to, or you just find yourself saying yes and then thinking afterwards, oh my gosh, why did I say yes to that? So actually spend some time imagining saying no to them. Imagine how it feels, imagine how it sounds. Let it be easy, and just keep practicing and keep visualizing, and it will get easier. As women, we have just been conditioned to say yes to everything. And when you change those pathways within yourself and you change those thinking patterns and those habits, you're doing a massive, massive favor to the next generation of women who are going to witness you saying no and going, oh wow, it's actually okay to say no. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. So that is my little episode on how to say no and set boundaries for the festive season. I did also want to say that some of this comes from knowing yourself, that self-awareness, and knowing your limits. Like, it's very hard to set boundaries and to say no when you don't know yourself well. So yeah, spend some time reflecting on what tends to happen over the festive season. Is it great, or is it really hard? And just pay attention to those memories and those lessons about yourself. And also remember, you're not responsible for someone's reaction to the boundary you're setting. So like, of course, we're always aiming to keep our relationships healthy and happy and amicable. But at the same time, if someone is going to get really, really upset with you for saying no, then obviously that relationship needs to be looked at as well. So just remember, because sometimes I've had clients say to me, oh, it didn't work. Like I said no, or I set the boundary and my sister got really angry at me. Well, yeah, your sister got angry at you, but you still did set the boundary. You still did say no. So their response isn't a reflection of you. And then it's your job to uphold the boundary, to uphold the no. So if someone gets upset when you say no, you can still go, yep, I hear you're really disappointed. You really wanted me to do this thing with you. And I still can't manage it this month. So you can still observe that they're upset, and, you can still be kind and compassionate about it, but also still uphold your boundary. Because I think where a lot of the women I work with, they're working on the no, they're working on the boundaries, but where they get caught up on is when they see that they've upset someone, or that, someone is having a lot of trouble accepting their boundaries. So just remember, we can't be responsible for how other people feel and how they respond to us. And in this little freebie, there's also some journal questions to kind of reflect on your boundaries in the past and what's happened and what you've learned from it. So lots of reflection this month. I really hope that you get a chance to go through this guide and this little mini boundary setting guide before December, before you start making all your plans for the festive season. And I would be so grateful if you enjoyed this episode, if you could leave me a 5-star review, share it with your friends. The more people I can get this out to in the world, the more I'm able to help women really kind of say goodbye to that good girl and the self-sacrificing, and really learn to kind of honor our own needs. So that's it. Have a beautiful week, and I will chat to you next week.